Back on the Exit 52 podcast on Thursday night, October 24th, 7:39 p.m. We're brought to you, as always, by Jimmy's Famous Seafood. My name is Jake Louque, and I'm joined for a second night in a row by Spooky Spenny. How we doing, pal?
Feeling super spooky. The hollow spirits, best time of the year as we're getting towards the holidays, football in full swing, NBA fired up, NHL, World Series kicking off tomorrow. And Ravens playing a 1 o'clock game, like we were just talking about right before we got started. Ravens have played some primetime, Bills, Chiefs, some 4 o'clock game, Cowboys. So they've had the Raiders was at 1, and maybe one other game that I'm missing.
Was Commies? I think that was 1, right?
Commies was a 1 o'clock game as well. So their third 1 o'clock game of the season, as they head up to Cleveland to take on the Fighting Cleveland Browns, and one Mr. Jameis Winston getting his turn to try and do his Geno Smith, try and do his Sam Darnold. How old is Jameis here now? Jameis is what? I'm going to say 31 years old.
I think 31 as well. I could be wrong.
He turns 31 in January.
Okay.
Which is, I mean, to 10 years ago, the Bengals were at 1 as well. Yeah. 10 years ago, 30 felt like you were like, oh, he's getting up there in age. Like when Flacco was 30, it was like, oh, he's like an old greasy veteran. Now, because of Brady and all those older quarterbacks, it feels like the game has changed. The quarterback is more protected, and Jabo Wins doesn't exactly have a ton of mileage on him, especially over the last couple of years. He had that stint with the Saints and gets a shot. Good for him, man. An exciting player, obviously, somebody that's drawn a ton of media clicks, downloads, likes throughout his tenure, was kind of towards that explosion of social media when he was winning the Heisman and doing all his crazy stuff at Florida State and trying to sneak back into a game and trying to do all that funny stuff. So I'm excited for Jameis to get his shot the rest of the year, and I'm excited to see what the Ravens can do in their second divisional game against the Browns.
Yeah, no, it definitely feels like they've played more divisional games earlier in the year, like in years past. This is kind of, like you mentioned, they only had the 1. Now we're up here into week 8, and this will be their second, and it is exciting. And yeah, a lot going on with this team, with this Browns team. You got Jay Boo coming in, like you mentioned, and Ken Dorsey going to take over as your play caller there. So it feels like a lot of people are throwing out the trap game thing. It feels like you mentioned the rat poison with Nick Saban there, obviously. I don't know, man. It's an interesting one for the fact that the Browns have nothing to lose at this point, and I kind of feel like Kevin Stefanski is interested in going on a little bit of an FU tour here, because he really was kind of, and I don't want to absolve him of the Deshaun Watson acquisition and the role that he probably played in it a little bit, but it does feel like he was shackled to that guy a little bit, and ownership was making it a mandate that he was going to have to play due to the contract and everything, and not wanting to look bad or whatever it was that they were trying to do there. Now their hand has been forced. Watson out for the year. Winston inserted into the lineup, and I don't know. It certainly couldn't get much worse than Watson, and you certainly think that Winston's going to be able to push the ball downfield a little bit to some of these playmakers the Browns have. Obviously now down Amari Cooper, but still got some decent receivers in here. You still got Njoku and a running game that has Nick Chubb now back into the fold, having played his first game last week. So I don't know, man. Trap game, certainly something to be sort of concerned about, but when you're talking about trap games, that usually means you're in a good spot as a team.
I think it is rat poison. I think that it is sticky pads, it's cheese on a trap, and that is the statement. Can you beat who you're supposed to beat? Can you blow out a team that is down bad, that has lost 5 straight games? And to talk about rat poison and Nicky Saban here, we can throw it up to the GOAT himself to talk a little bit about rat poison here.
This is where this very seat is where rat poison was born. All right. So I remember that 2 years ago. All right. And when I hear things in the media about guys are first round draft picks, they're setting great records and all that type of thing, that's not really what I like for players to be focusing on right now. You got to focus on what are you doing right now, not what's going to happen in the future, not really what happened in the past, but what can I learn from what's happened in the past? how can I affect what's going on right now? Because that's what's going to affect the future in a positive way. So that's how we want our players to think, regardless of how difficult you all make it for us sometimes with some of our players.
So Nikki says it perfectly there. Rat poison, man. And there's many clips about it. He was just talking about it. Zay Flowers banged up. DNP Wednesday, Thursday. Travis Jones, going back through the tape a little bit more thoroughly, he's not right. His ankle is not feeling so hot. He's got a big, fat, swollen ankle. You can just tell he was not firing off the ball. Graham Barton tossed him around a little bit at times in that game when he was playing shaded over the center. And a couple other guys banged up. Jalen Armour-Davis comes back. Malik Harrison comes back. Keaton Mitchell, we'll see. Nate Wiggins a little banged up. Roderick Washington
/ illness here. That's a double whammy for Wiggins with the shoulder / illness at the bottom.
I feel like the Ravens throw the illness tag maybe more than any team does. I don't know. As I look around, pretty much every week you can see some illness on there. There's something going on in the water here in good old Balmer, where guys are just a little sniffly, a little stuffed up, some tummy issues, things of that nature. But man, guys are banged up. You just played a physical game. It's a short week. You got to travel. That's tiring. If you're nursing an injury, going on a plane, even if it's a quick little pop up and down, barely reaching 30,000 feet, still weighs on you a little bit. And it's that early kickoff. Like, you're not going to be warmed up later in the day and all that good stuff. Players do like it that way. I mean, when you're growing up, you'll play a lot of games at 9 and 10 a.m. and then high school football more at night and evening. But to digress, this game has all of the Browns punching you in the mouth and coming out hot. Myles Garrett has been playing fantastic football. Shocker. Absolute shocker there. Myles Garrett leads the NFL with 19 quick pressures, according to Next Gen Stats. Pressures under 2.5 seconds, and has the second quickest get off in the NFL at 0.68 seconds, which is a lightning bolt. So I'm looking at that one. Ronnie Stanley, who has been playing so damn well. We talked about him on the Jumbo set last night, where he is playing himself into a great contract. He also has really dealt with Myles Garrett awesomely in the past, prior to him kind of having to get over that injury. So I feel like this is a big statement game for Ronnie Stanley. Like, he is all the way back, but this is a game where he can make a statement. And if he's able to quell Myles Garrett a little bit like he had in 2020, 2019 at times and prior, then I think that means we talked about that contract. Any number is on the table, like any number. Tackles can play well into their 30s. We were talking about quarterbacks, but tackles can play well into their 30s. So looking at Ronnie Stanley, who has not allowed a sack to this point in the season and is the only, I believe, pass blocker to have 50+ pass blocking snaps and not allow one. I might have to go back and find that one to make sure I have that right.
Coming off his best performance by PFF last week, 88 grade in pass blocking. He's had a 64.5 against Dallas. That was his lowest by far. Lowest after that, 78.4 against Washington. Other than that, he's been all in the 80s.
Well said. And we have Sedarian Smith here. The only teams I see giving the Ravens problems are AFC North teams. Have they ever swept the division? They have a couple of those instances. The 2019 year, they lose to the Browns, and then they win 14 straight, and then lose to Pittsburgh in the final. No, they beat Pittsburgh. Pardon me. They beat
the RG3 start. They beat them, yeah.
They beat Pittsburgh there. So the Ravens, I don't know if they've ever swept the division.
It's tough to do. I mean, it's been a competitive division their entire existence, really.
Yeah, I would guess there was one point maybe in the early 2000s, maybe, but I would probably put my money on no. We can go back and look through it. Maybe one of the listeners can go fact check that while you're browsing around and checking FanDuel and all that good stuff. So yeah, the AFC North is physical, man, and that hasn't changed. It is a game where the Browns have very little to lose, a lot to prove. You've got guys on the offensive side of the football for the Browns like Jerry Jeudy, Elijah Moore, Cedric Tillman, James Prochet gets a shout out here from Bateman season in the comments. A lot of guys that have something to prove. David Njoku has given the Ravens fits at times. His athleticism, what he can do on screens, and has turned into such a nice tight end. Jameis Winston, small sample size, pushed the ball downfield at an alarmingly high rate. I was on 105.7 earlier wondering, we saw the Saints iteration of him. He's a little more of a game manager. He'd still fire that deep play action shot, but was kind of flipping the ball around underneath. Stefanski's offense doesn't change. It's creative. He gets quarterbacks on the move, does all those kinds of things. I do think Nick Chubb coming back, it reminds you of J.K. Dobbins coming back off injury. Like, he's still very talented. He's still very strong. He's still smart, processes well. Didn't look explosive like we know Nick Chubb to be. Jerome Ford, a nice player. I think of him and like Rico Dowdle as like the same human being in ways where they're just a nice back to have in your backfield and have kind of throttled into bigger roles than maybe those respective teams ever intended due to unforeseen circumstances, injury, this, that, and the other. But I expect the Browns to have some really nice scripted plays early. The Bucs gave the Ravens trouble. What have we seen teams do? And what did we hear Zach Orr talk about today? Teams are breaking the huddle quick, getting to the line, not letting the Ravens get exotic, going no huddle, doing all those things so the Ravens can't get into their rhythm of trying to disguise players and things of that nature. Ken Dorsey calling plays in this one. Kevin Stefanski has relinquished his play calling duties throughout the game. Still definitely Stefanski's offense and the bones there of what they like to do with their under center run game and a lot of screens, things of that nature. But ultimately a team that is a familiar foe. Like, what's changed? Deshaun Watson's not quarterback. Jameis Winston is. This defense, I think, has dealt with some poo-poo offensively and played some really good first halves and then just tires out and maybe loses a little bit of momentum and spirit and pride as you watch Deshaun Watson be pretty much the worst quarterback, especially for the money of the last like 5-10 years this season so far. So this defense can be riled up. This can be a we're not out of it game for the Browns. And again, the ultimate are you a rat game for the Ravens. It's only rat poison if you're a rat. It's only rat poison if you buy into all those things Saban talked about, if you let the MVP, Derrick Henry, Lamar Jackson narrative come, and all of those isms that you can get into. So the Ravens should know that. They know it's the AFC North. They know that someone's going to punch you in the mouth. They've dealt with the Steelers teams that have done it for years to them. The Steelers have won 7 of 8, and the Browns have definitely given them fits. So I don't know. I don't have a ton of advanced analysis for this game. I didn't queue up any clips for this one, but it is what it is. And if Zay Flowers can't go, then that takes an element away from your offense. That jet motion, the quick motion, some of the things you like to do, some of the ways you like to use Zay Flowers. There's not really another jitterbug-like player. So if he can't go, and I'm going to go ahead and say he's not going to go, and erring on the side of caution, probably a good thing. But here we are.
Gives you something to take a look at, too. It gives you a test case about this offense without him in the mix. I mean, we've talked about the fact that he and Bateman are probably not going to be able to play a combined 34 games. This will be, one where he would not be in the lineup. What does your offense look like without him? I don't think you can do the same type of things that you're talking about with the jet motion with a guy like Aguilar. I think, obviously the speed differential and the quickness differential, pretty big there. So it could be kind of one of those games where we're just going bigger. We're going heavier. It's going to be 2 and 3 tight end sets. We're going to run the rock with Henry. We're going to, get Justice Hill involved coming out of the backfield a little bit. And an interesting test case to see what they do without Flowers, because even when he doesn't have a huge game in the box score, I feel like he brings a certain element to this offense that allows them to open other things up. So I am very excited to see how this plays out if he doesn't play.
Yeah, and game script factors into how many times you throw the ball and all that good stuff, game planning as well. But Todd Monken has talked about it, and Peyton Manning was talking about how do you make a call sheet? How do you get to the plays you're going to call on game day? What's on Todd Monken's stinky, saucy, marinated call sheet that he's putting down in those Fruit of the Looms? You have plays just for players. You have 10 plays for Zay Flowers. You have 10 plays for Rashad Bateman, 10 for Isaiah Likely. So you can pick and choose a time to be like, ooh, I want to get this guy involved now. And you've got a scripted plays. It can be a little bit outside of that. You can, defer to the playbook. But what do you think is on Lamar Jackson's wristband? It's Todd Monken's call sheet, and that's how they get there. So you'd think that Likely gets a couple more, Andrews gets a couple more, Bateman gets a couple more, Aguilar in this offense has run a lot of like curls and crossers. Feels like is his predominant usage. They'll run slot fades with him once or twice a game. We'll see if Tylan Wallace gets into the mix a little bit more so. But I would imagine that if you want to continue using the same rate of motion, Isaiah Likely probably becomes in a different way, but similar just in that motion sense, the player that's running around a bunch and throwing a couple of those screens to him, seeing what he can do.
You can use him as a blocker in that way too. If you want to run out of pistol or gun, you kind of bring him in front of it and then run behind him. They've done that before with him as well, and his run blocking is definitely improved. So,
well said. The Browns defense unit that has hasn't had a ton of change. Dalvin Tomlinson, Shelby Harris, Adarius Smith brought in, Myles Garrett, Owusu Koromoa. They have Jordan Hicks. The corners, Martin Emerson, Greg Newsome, Denzel Ward, Grant Delpit, and Juan Thornhill back there. Jim Schwartz still calling plays. They have Devin Bush back there, Mo Hurst, Agbo Okoronkwo, Mike Hall, all those dudes. I haven't checked the injury report for the Browns specifically.
I got one from yesterday, so Wednesday, as we're recording this. Jerome Ford, DNP, Ronnie Hickman, DNP, Jordan Hicks, DNP, Quentin Jefferson, DNP, Ethan Posick, DNP, and Jedrick Wills, DNP. You got a couple limited guys in there, a couple fools in there. Well, a couple fool participations. I shouldn't call them fools. Let's not, get personal with this. But yeah, that was from yesterday. So it sounds like some of the guys you're talking about not really present on this.
Ford still is not practice. Hickman still is not practice. Hicks still is not practice. Wills still is not practice. Conklin, a limited participant. Wyatt Teller has returned to practice, a limited participant twice. So let's see if they bring those guys back and what they can do on that offensive line. A big part of their offensive struggles, also a result of injury to that offensive line. The Browns really just didn't make a lot of changes to their roster. I guess they were kind of just in that sort of frozen moment in hell because of Deshaun Watson.
It's a good roster, but it's one of the oldest in the league. Like if you look at the age, if you look at the sort of average age, and I think people have talked about this, that they thought the idea was just, all right, we'll run it back and we'll see if Deshaun can do what Flacco did or a modicum of that. And it was a disaster. It was on track to be one of the worst quarterback seasons of all time. So I don't know. Like I said, it feels like they can only go up from here. And if you just throw the ball around like Jameis is wont to do, we'll see what happens. Maybe make some plays through the air, get the Ravens on their heels a little bit. Who could say? And I love this comment from Matt Downing. I'm throwing my TV at the first 3rd and 9 where Njoku chips the edge and runs a drag route for 15 yards. He does that a lot, and that was like Flacco was the biggest Njoku merchant in the world last year. Like he'd get in 3rd and long every time Njoku would block and then leak out wide the hell open, and they'd pick it up. And God, it was infuriating, but also very fun to watch.
It was fun to watch. And Winston has reps. He's a vet, but I guess Jerry Jeudy was really their big offseason acquisition, so to speak. And the timing with a Jerry Jeudy of Jameis Winston and Moore and Tillman, I do really like Cedric Tillman a lot. I've seen Matt Harmon say there's not really enough to go off of for him to chart Tillman and do the reception perception, which has blown up so much in the last 2 years. But Tillman, he comped to Cortland Sutton, that big, tall, strong receiver that can kind of do the concentration catches and can rumble a little bit after the catch, all those. So I think Tillman can have a nice day. Winston pushed the ball past the sticks on 72. I think it was 10 out of 11 pass attempts that he had last week, something like that. So I'm curious to see if they want to try to attack deep, and Winston wants to try to yuck that thing downfield. But the Ravens have done well in that regard, just not in the intermediate. And we talked about that. And Zach Orr is getting questioned about that. And are you going to simplify things even more? Is Marlon Humphrey, who has been your best coverage defender, not going to be available? All of those things, those little factors. At the end of the day, it is a divisional game. So, Ravens 9.5-point favorites. Vegas, when you go look at props, go look at all kinds of stuff, expects this to be a slaughter. And are you a rat? That's really just all I have to say. Are you a rat? Like, are you going to sniff your own shit? Are you going to go bite the cheese off of a giant metal prong and let it go crack you in the head and go eat some delicious little nibbles of green chips and then go die because you have been busy smelling your own farts all week and reading national headlines and seeing all that stuff and thinking you're the shit and the Browns have nothing going and all that stuff. Team that definitely wants to try to come out and get a lead early, all that stuff. So I don't have a ton of advanced analysis here ultimately.
It's the Reservoir Dogs game. Who's the rat? Great trope. Who's the rat? Love that trope in movies and any
The
fiction.
Departed with their little finishing scene with the rat, Ratatouille, of course.
The thing about that scene that a lot of people don't get is that when the rat runs across the balcony, it signifies that Matt Damon was actually a rat. People don't get that.
Oh, really?
Some great symbolism by my guy Marty there. I got to shout him out on that.
Just hitting you over the head with it with a sledgehammer, Martin. The subtle complexities of the end of that film. Other things we have, I don't know. It's just tough. I mean, Winston hasn't played. They're maybe getting some linemen back. Ravens could be down Humphrey, Flowers.
What this screams to me, and you actually already talked about this on Twitter, Mark Andrews game. Like Mark Andrews kills the Browns. He did this last year, when they got off to that slow start, and then they did the touchdown sandwich there with Andrews just driving right down the field, scored a couple with him. He's killed them in the past. He's starting to heat back up. He's had his, couple best games here throughout the season when he got off to a slow start. I'm looking at him to find the paint a couple times here with Flowers out. Like I said, big boy game. Get these tight ends involved, get them in the mix, get Mark Andrews in space a little bit and see what he can do with the ball in his hands. I think it could be a good spot for him to really go off. I'm keeping an eye on him in this one.
Mark Andrews in the state of Ohio at Cleveland, week 16, 6 for 93, 2 touchdowns. 2020 at Cleveland, 5 for 78. 2021 at Cleveland, 11 out of 11 targets, 115 and a tud. 2022, I believe that was a Tyler Huntley game.
Yeah, well, Lamar got hurt in that one, I think.
Yes. 3 for 31 there. Then last year, 5 for 82 touchdowns. He owns the state of Ohio there, has had maybe just one stinker and some of his best games. Then when you look at the Bengals, 2019, 6 for 53 and 2, 4 for 27, so there's one. 8 for 125 and a touchdown in Cincinnati in 2021. He missed the game in 2022. At Cincinnati in week 2, 5 for 45 and a touchdown, and had a quieter game, but still made a couple plays, 4 for 55 there. So Mark Andrews is the king of Ohio. He is OHIO, Mr. Ohio himself. Yeah, he is also playing exactly like he's always played. All those rumors, speculation on the injury, age, so on and so forth, still looks great. Probably not the yak threat that he once was, but doesn't really need to be. And they ask him to do big boy shit and read the field and be Lamar's complex route runner that can read leverage and see zone coverage the same way. Those types of things. I think Jameis Winston throws a pick in this game for sure. I think the Ravens are hungry. Kyle Hamilton says they're staying late with the jugs machine and catching passes, the safeties. Kyle Hamilton said the Ravens should have had 5 interceptions of Baker Mayfield and walked out with 2. The safeties not picking the ball off much this year. And I was going to
say, I expect him to throw a pick, but we got to catch him here, guys. We got to, especially with Marlon out of the lineup. Let's hit those jugs machines.
Marlon known for his incredibly adept hands.
Yeah, right. I mean, that should be an indictment on this entire defense that guy is leading you with 4 on the year by a significant margin. I'd say, yeah, let's hit the jugs machine here. Marcus Williams. How about we get ourselves a pick here? Let's start to reverse some narratives. I don't know. It just feels like, and we talked about this, this defense, if they're going to do the bend but don't break thing and also kind of break at times, you got to make splash plays, and you're going up against a guy who has been known to surrender splash plays at a incredible rate. So
we have a couple of comments here. Bryce Benjamin, the more I look at this game, the more I think the defense dominates and coasts to victory. Wiggins gets his first pick 6, and Jameis throws 3 picks overall. Short field touchdowns. Ravens win 31-21. Greg Fritz. Wiggins is due for a ball. He's dropped a couple. Marlon stole one from him. And agreed, if Marlon's not playing, then he's going to have every opportunity to. Winston did get the ball out again. I think Cole tweeted it in a funny format. He said the sample size is 1 individual grain of salt, but Winston was getting the ball out in 2.5 seconds, whereas Watson has held the ball for over 3 seconds. That's a big difference. That is getting the ball out quickly versus holding the ball for a long time in the NFL. A lot of that is because there's probably outlier plays where you, like Lamar Jackson, might get the ball out quickly more often than not, but then he'll hold the ball for 4.5 seconds, making a play. Watson trying to do that kind of crap. And Winston, if he's getting the ball out on time, I think that leads to a pick. I think that leads to miscommunication because it is their first week. I don't expect everything timing and seeing the field the same way to be crisp for the Browns, while Winston is probably going to make your offense have more urgency, be more functional, have a little bit of extra spark. All that shit with his, his Gucci frames on and his hair braided back and just delivering sermons,
very powerful speeches. Yeah, looking like Big Cat on Sports Advisors.
Jameis Winston starting for the Browns, I feel like is Browns fans' nightmare. If you would have told them 3 years ago, 4 years ago, when they had Baker, who was so good as a rookie and led them to the playoffs a couple times, suddenly it's you're going to go from Deshaun Watson, who stinks, into Jameis Winston. They would probably still not quit watching the Browns. I don't know how those people have done it all these years with everything they've been through, but man, I don't know. I think Cedric Tillman has a nice day. think he's someone that they want to work on the outside and see what they can do. David Njoku, maybe Nick Chubb gets a little touchdown. There's just not who's going to kill you after the catch. This receiving group, while Mike Evans goes down and people will think, oh, Chris Godwin went down. That was the very end of the game. Ravens have had CeeDee Lamb, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Rashee Rice in week 1, who was outstanding. They've played so many good receivers. Devontae Adams, of course, as well. So not exactly a scary group. And yeah, I don't know what else there is to say other than don't fuck snaps up and don't make stupid punt return decisions and don't do weird shit on special teams.
Yeah, I just say like key on Chubb, like try to because like I said with the Buccaneers game, it just felt like there was way too many runs of 4 to 7 yards on first down, getting them into very comfortable situations on second and third and fourth, whatever. I don't know if they converted a fourth in that game, but it just felt like they got pushed around up front a little bit. They were dealing with some injuries. They had Washington out. You mentioned that Urban is very kind of one-dimensional. He's just sort of the passing situation, bat the ball down type of guy. Like, if they let Chubb get going, that's going to make things comfortable for Jameis. I think you want Jameis in as many obvious passing situations as possible. That's going to allow you to get your hands on a ball or two, and that could really turn the tide here.
Agreed. So with that, we don't have to make this a terribly dragged out one. 26 minutes in, predictions. I think the Browns come out scripted, have a nice drive. You can have that script down. Everybody knows where to go, what to do. I could see the Browns scoring maybe an opening drive touchdown. Maybe they get the ball first, want to get the lead, see what they can do. At this point, like I listened to so many previews. They were still saying got to get the lead against Lamar Jackson. It happened last week and it was a joke. I mean, the Ravens had a stupid drive. They get sacked twice. Protection gets messed up from some good concepts from Todd Bowles. And then they just yuck that thing downfield still. Derrick Henry running rampant. I don't know, man. I've said it time and time again. I'm just going to keep beating that horse. This offense, even I think without Zay Flowers, does knock you down maybe one peg there, but still the balance, the play calling, the understanding, like we talked about yesterday, Jake, the self-scouting. I think the Ravens can score 3 or 4 touchdowns. I think the Browns can score 1 or 2. And if the Browns are going to it's funny, Easy. That's exactly one of the ones I watched. It was the Cleveland Sports Show. That's very funny. Easy in the chat here says,
what was the point?
That you got to get a lead against Lamar Jackson.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, okay, have you watched any game they've played? It doesn't matter. That doesn't matter.
I mean, Bengals had a 10-point lead on them in the fourth quarter. I mean,
yeah, the Bucs just did it. It's happened. It doesn't matter. They're not deterred. The Chiefs, they came back on and almost tied that game. So, Kelly McCoy here. In an ugly game, Browns don't have the firepower to keep the Ravens from scoring. Maybe Jim Schwartz is the one who sits back, plays too high safety a little bit more than usual. He's kind of morphed into that somewhat. Shallow, too high safety, try to fit the run, make it hard on Lamar Jackson. Why did the Browns win last year? The Ravens scored. Browns got a pick 6 and turned the ball over, I think, twice total. And then Deshaun Watson makes that miraculous play late. So you have to turn the Ravens over. The Ravens have done a fantastic job mitigating those mistakes. So I think the Ravens win this one. I don't know. I just get the Sunday Browns vibes like Dorian Thompson-Robinson last year. Something in the 20s to 10. 27 to 10.
Interesting. Yeah, I think they'll get theirs a little bit in this one. I think, like you said, they'll start off scripted. I will expect an early touchdown out of them. They'll maybe get one more. They'll get a field goal. I just think this Ravens offense is going to keep it rolling, even if Flowers does not play. It just feels like I said, they continue to have answers for questions that the defense is asking them. And without Flowers, that makes it a little bit more difficult. But they've been scoring 30 points a lot. I'm going to take them to win this game 30-17.
I like that one probably better than mine. And they'll probably, that's the thing. Like last week, Bucs prediction, I was like, Ravens going to throttle them 40-17, and then the Bucs get an onside kick and score a stupid touchdown and that kind of shit. So that would be the 17, I feel like, in this game.
Right. Yeah. It just feels like stupid shit is apt to happen in this game. I think when Jameis Winston is starting in particular, and that means stupid things for their offense and stupid things for the Ravens defense. Maybe they get picked on a little bit here and there, but ultimately I just think the Ravens will keep this thing rolling and move on to 6-2.
Well said, my friend. I think that about does it. For those watching, we will be announcing in 1 week the winner of the Derrick Henry jersey giveaway. Subscribe on YouTube. Send a screenshot. You can DM me. You can DM on Instagram, on Twitter. You can DM the show. We're going to announce the winner live next week when we are previewing. Was that the Broncos game? Is that Broncos?
I think so.
Next week. Yeah, Broncos. So the 31st, Halloween, we'll be announcing right around this time. So tune in prior to Thursday Night Football. If you have entered, you still have a week to enter and see if you win. Derrick Henry jersey. Appreciate everyone who has subscribed. Easiest way to support the boys, doing these giveaways so we can try and increase our output and continue to bring in sponsors, make a little bit of money off this thing, and keep the content rolling. Appreciate everyone. Appreciate you, Jake, all your hard work you put into the podcast, and all the other fellas and everyone who listens. We love you guys. We love engaging. I feel like it's been a really nice, positive year in terms of the listeners, in terms of Twitter. I don't think there's been any big negative ho-hum going on, even when the Ravens were 0-2. So I love that.
I was going to say, I might have been the fucking Eeyore of the group, honestly, out of everyone.
You weren't that bad. You weren't that bad. You're pissed about the offensive line, and I think rightfully so. And then they make some changes.
Yeah, they did. And it's worked out well. And I mean, shit, they allowed him to grow. They allowed him to make mistakes. And that is a credit to them, and a credit to Uncle George Warhop coming in here on short notice and making that all work.
Well said. Also, if you're local, what is the hot sauce contest, Jake, or the hot sauce festival coming up? Our guys at Black Susan Spices. Shout out to Seb and the boys.
It's Nevermore Hot, I believe. Let me see if I can pull that up.
November, coming up pretty soon. A hot sauce festival at Peabody Brewing in Baltimore, which is a sick venue. Definitely want to go check that out. Jake will pull up the full details, but we're probably going to mosey over there and check that out. I'm a hot sauce lover for sure, and want to go try all the sugars and spices.
Yeah, I'll see if I can. I do have an early flight out to Los Angeles that next morning, so I don't know if I'll be able to make it, as I told Seb, but hopefully I will be able to. Yeah, so November 16th, 2024, 401 East 30th Street is where you can find Peabody Brewing at. It is noon to 6 p.m. The guys are going to be out there. It's going to be a fun time. So yeah, if anyone is interested in supporting our brand, supporting our sponsors, have yourself some fun. Go try out some hot sauces.
Hot sauce with 20 vendors, food, craft beer, all that good stuff. Going to be a good old Maryland time. So check out the Nevermore Festival at Peabody Brewing. Check out Black Eyed Susan Spices. What is it? What is the website? blackeyedspices.com.
Blackeyedspices.com. Promo code EXIT52 for 10%.
So shout out to all of them. So good, so delicious. I was using the thyme mustard one yesterday for dinner. It's so good. So many different flavors to add on.
Yeah, I gotta go back to my parents' house and pick up my sort of my care package that I got from them. I was working my way through them steadily. Then the move happened, and I forgot to bring them. So I gotta go make that happen and get some more spice into my life. My dishes are plainly vanilla these days without them.
You've been doing a lot. You're a busy boy, so we'll get some spice into your life. Also, a big shout out to Jen at 7th Gypsy on Twitter, who is an artist. She just sent me this sweet Ravens canvas. Looks so cool. She does so many canvases for all sports, all different things. Check her out at 7th Gypsy on Twitter. Definitely in support of Kai, who one of our listeners had expressed had a medical condition, unfortunately. So check out all that information on Twitter. Go donate to the GoFundMe for Kai. You can find that on my Twitter. I post it every couple of days. So check that out.
On Twitter, it's Charlie Burr at Show Me Your O's Face. Check him out to get some details on that. I think we're doing pretty good. As far as the funds raised, they got a goal of, I think, 25K. They're probably at 15K last time I checked. And that was about a week ago, so hopefully it's higher than that. But he's got a nephew, I think, going through some health stuff. So it'll be very nice if you guys could go and continue to donate to that. He's been a longtime listener of ours, great dude. So we'd appreciate it.
Awesome, love it. Do a little good, put in a parlay, sprinkle a little bit to the GoFundMe there as well. If you got $5 for a long shot lottery ticket parlay, you can go help out those in need too. So with that, Jake and I have a Ravens win, and I think that does it. Nice, short, sweet one. Hopefully it's a nice, short, sweet win for the Baltimore Ravens as they look to move to 6-2 as they take on the Cleveland Browns on Sunday at 1 p.m.
very much. Looking forward to it. Looking forward to a good weekend. Hope you guys all have one as well. Thank you for hanging in, tuning in, listening after the fact, whatever you chose to do. If you're not already, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. And if you do that, be sure to tweet that subscription at Spenny so you're in the lottery, in the raffle for a free Derrick Henry jersey. Free 99. Nothing beats that. And it's of the king. It's of Himmy, Derrick Henry. So subscribe to us, like all the videos, comment on all of them, get that algorithm pumping for us. Find us on social media at Exit52 Podcast on Twitter and Instagram. I am at Jake Louque. That's Louque. Spenny is at Ravens4Dummies. That is the number 4 in the middle. Brian is at Barstool Banks. Taylor at Taylor Smythe 10. Hopefully going to be back on the recap this week. He's fully moved into Chicago now, trying to get that internet up and running. So looking forward to getting some broadcast takes from him. I don't know what team is on the broadcast this week, so that makes it even more exciting for me. And Eric at EDITTI22. Until next time, we will see you guys later.
See you.
Arrivederci.